Hi classmates, I decided to do my research project on the main problems of learning the English language in the country of Nigeria. Now, and I also want to know how can we fix the problems for the nearby future. Now, for starters, Nigeria has over 500 languages spoken, becoming the most diverse country in the world. But the main languages that are spoken for is number one, English, and number two, French. However, it's only used in less occupied rural areas and people with lower education qualities. The beginning use of the English language in Nigeria dates back all the way to late 16th and early 17th century when British merchants and Christian missionaries settled in the coastal towns. Now, Nigerian English and regular standard American English have similar features. The only difference is they got unusual word formation that has plurals, enamins, and adverbials. They also dropped the word to from any infinitive after various verbs. And they also place prepositions to where native English is avoided, or they can switch it out for a different preposition such as enable, contest, or reply. Now I have chosen 6 major problems that affect the Nigerian learners in learning the English language. Mother tongue interference, poor pronunciation, peer pressure, teachers and learning material, environmental factors, and globalization. Now, let's start with the mother tongue interference. The mother tongue interference is a huge problem with learning languages in all foreign countries, not just Nigeria. Now, when the children are introduced to English at school, when they leave the school, they're not using it at home. They switch back to their native language, which is what their parents may speak. This causes major confusion towards the learners. The main language isn't going to be English, it's going to be the native language. And when they return to school, they usually 100% forget what they learned the previous day and just speak the natural native language. The second one, poor pronunciation. Now, this is where it gets confusing. Apparently, with poor pronunciation, it becomes a factor with prepositions. Now, prepositions be omitted in a sentence and they can change into like different words. Our prepositions are long, for, with. They would change it to like enable, contest, or reply. When the Nigerians omit the prepositions in an English sentence, it's going to be deemed corrected in American language and would be also deemed inferior as well. Now, the two words enable and to in the language of English in America, they always got to connect with each other. One cannot appear without the other. So, if a Nigerian will write or say, I hereby apply for a loan to enable me to buy a car, we would say the same thing, only we would say, I hereby apply for a loan to enable me to buy a car. Now, while Nigerians happily omit prepositions, when we use enable, contest, reply, we would just find any other word to use from the area and insert them where they are normally not used in native varieties in the English language. Why does that have to do with poor pronunciation? Because the sentence structure wouldn't sound like a correct sentence in our eyes. In the American English line, it was deemed, like I said, deemed inferior. Now, I know that don't seem like a big problem, but if you use the wrong sentence structure, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the right saying or something that can offend the people of the language. The third one, peer pressure. Now, peer pressure has the power to eliminate any desire for a person learning or trying to adapt to the new language. Now, the goal is trying to achieve the native-like pronunciation or trying to make it sound familiar so we can fit in. Now, pronouncing words like a native may be compared to an involuntary reflexing. To break it down, sometimes they may not know they are doing it, or they're just trying to blend in by trying to be trendy or not trying to be seen as foreign. Like, if we, the American people, go over to Nigeria, we'll probably use like a Nigerian accent or close to one to try to fit in. Now, some Nigerians can spot out fakes. And if they do, they will use that to their advantage and probably mostly mock them and make us feel terrible. So, like I said, it's an involuntary reflex. We'll try to fit in, it doesn't work, it ends badly. The fourth factor, learning materials and teachers. It is recommended on the part of the language teacher to develop their creative skills while improvising some of these materials and teaching. Plus, they also got to remember the whole world can be used as instructional material for a lesson. Now, it's also needed that some committees could be set up in a school to critique some of the materials or textbooks or laptops to be used by the learners before they are being used. Also, the teacher themselves should be available for himself or herself for training to be able to help use some of these extra materials, try to help them with the students, help them be more comfortable with it, and also they should be ready to learn how to use them effectively. Now, what I mean by that is some teachers who are trying to teach the English language have 99% don't know what they're doing. They're trying to fake it just to make it. They will pronunciate it wrong, don't care about teaching language, or just give the kids the textbook and be like, just go ahead and read it. Now, if we do that in today's society, 9 times out of 10, we will probably be lost without any teacher guidance. See what I mean? The next part is the environmental factors. Pardon me. Now, even though English is the main language, it is really not used often, or rather, not really the primary language between families. Mostly it's only used in like formal settings like a school, bank, work, court, anything. But in most personal settings, you'll hear it in like stores, markets, homes, churches, and restaurants. The reason being is that learners have to stay true to reality with the native tongues and nobody's forcing them to do it. Even when they go home, it's really not a top priority to speak English on any kind of language you learn in school due to one, probably not having the materials they have at school, meaning textbooks. If they don't have textbooks they can take home, 9 times out of 10 again, they probably won't continue to learn the language until the next day they go to school and look at their textbook. Now the last one is really not a main problem per se, but I kind of think it does contribute to learners trying to learn the English language. Globalization. Now, the English language is a language before and after that started beginning of globalization. Communication on the internet is mainly English, making English relevant in like accessing information, data, personal development, advancement, and for everyday normal living. But the lack of language communication disempowers the less privileged. Globalization and English language are said to work as pull factors for each other. Now, English language does play a big role in the beginning and end of globalization. Now, by itself, globalization is trade and commerce, is increased diversity of workforce with different setups, values have increased the importance of the English usage language. Now, everyday man has been using language as a medium for communication for the ages today. Now, the English language has become the most prized possession of communication. With that, as with the globalization. Now, if we go back to the original existence of globalization, it has been defined as point of a business, and then as we start to get into globalization, it spread it, and now it's like our survival to live. Survival to live. Now, what I mean by that is the technology point advances in production, transportation, and telecommunication, and more advancement factors with internet. Now, many firms got access to customer supplies and collaborators around the world due to globalization being originated with trade and marketing, and with that, it crossed to many overseas countries, etc. Now, globalization has brought everything together, but without the factor of English language, globalization probably wouldn't be affected, meaning, to break it down, if we didn't have technology, we probably would be struggling to learn the English language. Without the advancement of technology, laptops, I can really say books, tablets, phones, it would be hard to learn the English language because you won't see examples of how to say specific words, knowing how to use the English language word in a sentence, pronouns, nouns, verbs, all the stuff we learn in English class. Without technology advancement or books, the English language would not be going as far as it did. So, how do we fix this? Now, I have 3 ways, well technically 2 because the last 2 kind of combined into one, of how we could solve the problems of learners learning the English language. This one kind of connected to me the 4 C's method, which is by research Grace Anana, which has critical thinking, communication, collaborative, and creativity. To break each down, first, critical thinking. Every learner today got to know how to speak, think, and evaluate facts or opinions in the English language, making conclusions based on analysis and taking information and applying it to solve problems and create result solutions. Now, to promote and encourage critical thinking skills in the classroom, English teachers or anybody teaching the English language has to create learning environments that value questions more than answers, equip the language learners with skills to analyze and ask more questions about the English language. Now, many principles, goals could also be helped to engage learners in thinking. The more problems you put the learners in, the more solutions they will come up on how to pronounce the English language. Communication skills. We know communication skills is a huge part in everything, even learning languages, learning new skills, etc. Now, communication being involved in today's classroom needs to be seen as having powerful literacy skills such as ability to read, ask questions, share ideas, and solve problems in any other ways people can understand. It also includes applications of new ways of communication that can be made via modern technology, phones, laptops, tablets, etc., which can be available and affordable and very useful to the teachers and the students themselves. Creativity. To create or promote the creative skills by the learner, they had to establish a learning culture that implies and promotes originality in carrying out tasks and creating new behaviors as well to learn the English language. Let learners be open to new experiences, trying out new things, saying new things, especially the ones that are scared by learning new language. They need to understand and see creativity as a positive tool. Think of a way to make you understand the English language a little bit easier to move forward with learning the English language. Now, on the teacher side, the teacher needs to let go of getting the learners the exact teachers that when I follow are guaranteed, meaning let them not, like if they make a lesson plan to teach the English language and they have to make the learners go by their exact language plan, 10 times out of 10 students will get confused on that teacher's lesson plan on teaching the English language because they're not exploring or using creativity. They're just going by basically like just rules. They have a set of rules they going by, or like using another teacher's learning and not their own learning, making it seem fun to the learners or students in learning the language. It's mostly a set standard to learn this. Now, if the teacher wants that expectation of success, they need to allow students to define what, where, and how during many ongoing discussions in English. Let the students talk within themselves to help them better themselves in learning the English language. Now that's where collaborative skills come in. Now in this class we did work as groups to help learn the history of the English language. This is what students and learners got to do. They need to work in groups, especially if they're in a learning English class, that will help the teacher to take time to develop and prepare for group work, such as our professor puts out a lesson plan for us to learn each step of the history of the English language. That's what a professor teaching the English language has to do. They need to encourage discussions in the English language and carry out given tasks using the target language to promote the English. Like I said, since our professor gives us like history discussion questions, give us every chapter to read about the English language and then ask us questions, ask us opinions about what we think about the English language. That's what teachers have to do. Use that same skill, break it down, let students work in groups so they can bounce off ideas to each other to help them understand the English language better. Now, the next one, better teaching methods and better qualified teachers in the English language. They're kind of a combined thing. The problems in teaching and learning the English language needs and can be resolved to at least into an extent. Especially in Nigeria, it teaches and learners improve on themselves by working diligently together to achieve a set goal in language learning. Now, on the other hand, the Nigerian government needs to help them financially so they can get textbooks, laptops, anything that can help them increase the knowledge of learning the English language. Now, if the Nigerian does support learning, if they do, they need to add the educational sector by providing the needed infrastructures, implementing policies, carrying out professional training programs for the teacher, meaning make the teacher more qualified, make them more understanding to the English language. Let them, I was going to use the term make love, but make kind of like that. Make them have the knowledge of learning the English language like in the back of their hand, not just reading the textbook or reading slides and notes. Make them have the knowledge where they can repetitively say the teaching methods out their head. Make them feel like it's like putting on shoes. Make them know that this is an everyday thing they need to be established in. And if they provide the modern technology qualities or facilities in schools, this can help both the learner and teacher in the English language. Now, another thing I thought of was like they need to have lessons in the home. Have the English lessons at home. Make them take home a workbook or make them say various English phrases or nouns, verbs, etc. to help them understand. Make them realizing that using the English language needs to be an everyday thing when you leave home, go to school, when you leave school, go home. Make it an everyday thing. Make them use the English language and learn the English language in the personal settings. Just not at school, just make them have it home. Make them have it like I said, put on your shoes. Make them let them talk the English language within to their parents so the parents can help them, to the teachers so the teachers can help them. Now, we are at the end of my presentation, so I'm glad that y'all sat here and listened to my rambles about the main problems of the Nigerian English language. This class has been fun. I learned a lot of stuff, and I hope we can use this in the nearby future as well. So here am I glad to say is farewell classmates. I hope we see each other again. And also at the end of my slides, there are sources that you can see, all the articles that shows the main problems, solutions, etc. If you want to learn more about it or come up with your own thoughts on how to help the learners learn the English language and the teachers to teach the English language.